Do not fear them. Do not fear any of them.
A very, very good evening, Sunday the 9th of July 2023. For those of you joining me new, my name is Miah and these are subscriber-only Recusant 9 transmissions. They go out live on a Sunday night, and the idea is, of course, those of you who are kind enough to give me 99 pence a month access this lovely space, I think, a lovely community we've built between us on a Sunday evening. And then what I tend to do on a Monday or Tuesday is spend half a day or so editing it all down and still sharing it freely with those who a combination of those who won't subscribe but still take value in the transmission, and those who let's just say technology has passed them by. Welcome to all of you, those of you joining me this evening and those of you who are joining me during the week. We're 5 years in now, and I genuinely cannot believe not just the road we've been on. Looking back, I'm struggling to fathom that this road actually existed. If you were to tell me 5 years ago, 6 years ago, that all of what we've shared was true, or even remotely true, I would have called you a conspiracy theorist. I would have called you a lunatic. But as we now know, all of this is true, and the truth is, the truth's not stopping, is it? It's only unraveling more and more and more. This was the sort of stuff I wanted to talk to you about, of how if you told me this 5 years ago, I'd just not have believed you. And this is a bio. So Melissa survived. This is a biography or a profile. I'm not sure what handle. I'm not sure what the exact terminology. I'm Melissa, not my real name due to my anonymity. South Yorkshire survivor of child sexual abuse, child sexual exploitation and rape. I was groomed, raped by 3 white police officers and by a few Pakistani men for 9 years, South Yorkshire. I was only a child. If you told me a few years ago, I'd struggle believing that. But then if you told me a few years ago this was the sort of headline I would read in the Manchester Evening News, I wouldn't believe you either. A Greater Manchester police detective allegedly raped, sexually abused and urinated on a young girl after grooming her, jury told. Now, I've read this story, and of course it's presumed innocence before proven guilty, and I'm not going to speculate in any way, shape or form, but just the headline appalls me. The headline appalls me, and this is a police officer, a detective. A detective allegedly raped, sexually abused and urinated on a young girl after grooming her, jury told. Now, throughout this article, and it relates to this man called Stephen Hardy, who denies 20 charges he faces. It's in the Manchester Evening News. You can see it 4th of July, a couple of days ago. Quickly put up and quickly disappeared, like these articles tend to do. It doesn't say, and I've looked, and it doesn't say anywhere how old this young girl was. I'll just read some of it. A Greater Manchester police detective repeatedly raped and sexually abused a girl after grooming her, a jury has been told. A court-heard Detective Constable Stephen Hardy, 45, gained power and control over her and described her virginity as special. Prosecutors also allege he made her kneel and urinated on her chest on one occasion. Mr. Hardy, who worked for Greater Manchester Police as a detective in Stockport, is on trial at Liverpool Crown Court. He denies a total of 20 charges, which include rape, sexual assault, and causing a child to engage in sexual activity. I'll keep you updated on this because it's one of those stories that they're having to report on, but it quickly gets deleted or moved down the news. The headline page quickly gets moved down the headline page. So if you blink it, you will miss it. What I also wanted to talk to you about this week was Willa Boobies. Now, Willa Boobies has got it into his head and ignore his notorious conspiracy theorist gives up wannabe MP charade after being perhaps the only he likes these perhaps and allegedly because it gets him out of it. So here we go. After being perhaps the only prospective member of Parliament in UK history to announce his candidacy to a crowd of 7 people, 7 votes. I'm already winning. Directly after release from police custody following a dawn raid arrest and still wearing prison clothing. Indeed. Miah MBE to you. A notorious unemployed, well, I don't know about notorious, but I'm definitely not unemployed, Mosley-based conspiracy theorist, has, it appears, thrown in the towel. So he's gone on and claimed, I've quit my campaign. He must have had a wet dream about me. That's it, isn't it, Willa Boobies? Willa Boobies, you're having a wet dream about me. You fantasizing about me, ain't you, Willa Boobies? You're borrowing some of that Viagra off one of your mates, and you are fantasizing about me. In your sleep, Willa Boobies is fantasizing, and he's thankfully not fantasizing anything sordid. He's fantasizing that I've quit my campaign to become MP. And so much is his fantasy, he now believes it's real. Well, we knew that anyway. We knew he thought his delusions were reality. He couldn't tell the difference between being deluded and not. Seven, I know, Gary. But it doesn't matter, does it, Gary? He's fantasizing over me. He's fantasizing, and he can't tell the difference between his fantasy dreams and what really takes place. Now, of course, nowhere have I given up my campaign. But here is Jim McMahon. Miah has a fragile ego. And this is, by the way, in a thread with Willa Boobies that Willa Boobie retweeted. Deeply obsessive nature, to put it mildly. Mate, I don't know about my ego being fragile. I wouldn't describe my ego being fragile, because if my ego was fragile, I wouldn't still be here after 5 years. Now, as for my obsessive nature, I call it resilience. Resilience. Dedication. You know, the sort of words that politicians like you would have no idea to the meaning of. When it gets tough, we don't give up. We double down and try harder. You will find out, McMahon, just how hard we try. Now, apparently I've been exposed as a liar and a fraud, and of course that's malicious. And in a law-abiding, legally operating town where the police did its job, they would have to have arrested Jim McMahon, but they won't arrest Jim McMahon because they are neck deep in the complicity with this MP. But apparently I'm a liar and a fraud, and the whole truth will out. Whatever he does is just further evidence of defamation. Well, I'm here, McMahon. You're neck deep in the cover-up of the grooming and gang rape of the Pakistani grooming and gang rape of little white girls in my town, McMahon. Come and sue me. Come and sue me. Neck deep in it. That's what you are. And at the election campaign, everywhere we go, banners, posters, leaflets, 50,000 leaflets will be posted by Royal Mail on my behalf through every letterbox, and every letterbox will call you for exactly what you are. James Ignatius O'Rourke McMahon, who was comically informed of his sacking live on Sky News last week. And once again, no report by the Willa Boobie, and nothing in the Oldham Times or the Manchester Evening News either. That is exactly what his political future is, Tony. The seriousness of this, and I can't get to the bottom of this story, by the way, is this thing to do with Angela Rayner. And it's made the news again recently, so right here, a couple of days ago. Angela Rayner, I got death threats to my children. Angela Rayner's teenage children have to be escorted to school after they received death threats, the Labour deputy leaders told Newscast. blah, 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 blah. Someone was sentenced, not blah, blah. Someone was sentenced. Benjamin Liffey was sentenced to 15 weeks in prison for sending Miss Rayner a threatening email in October 2021, and I'm happy he was put in prison, because no one should be put through to that who's in public life, including myself. Wouldn't you agree, Angela Rayner? Which is why I query why your pal, James Ignatius O'Rourke McMahon, is engaging with a malicious blogger who has been found in court to have targeted a man and who resulted on the verge of suicide. Tried to claim Jimmy Savile and him were linked. Forced to pay damages. Why is Keir Starmer's Shadow Minister for Sewage engaging with a malicious blogger and proven liar? I think we all know why. Because he has no one left to hide behind. That's why James Ignatius O'Rourke McMahon has no one left to hide behind. No one will touch him. The mainstream newspapers have all run away after defending him. They've realised that they can't take us on. And when they try, we go for them tenfold. The Oldham Times have run. The Oldham Chronicle were never really in the fight, but they've run the Manchester Evening News. Charlotte Green blocked me, nowhere to be seen. I sent her an email this week saying I was writing an article and gave her a right to reply. There was no reply from Charlotte Green. But the article is coming, Charlotte. It will feature on my webpage. There'll be a specific section. It will be called Enemies of Our People. And Enemies of Our People will feature newspaper journalists who have all been involved complicit in the cover-up of the grooming and gang rape of our town's children. Charlotte Green, you will be famous. That fringe is going to become infamous. I did also offer to Charlotte to meet with her at Wednesday night after the council meeting. With many of you who were banned with these fake Asbies that she was complicit in, and for you to ask her why she never spoke out against the lies and where she was used as an apparent victim from an 80-something-year-old pensioner. Charlotte Green won't reply because Charlotte Green knows the truth. But I offered to meet her after the council and buy her a drink. And as adults, we could all sit down with the local democracy reporter and share our frustrations of what's going on in the town, the shutdown of democracy. Surely that interests the local democracy reporter funded by yourselves, the taxpayer. No. Charlotte Green won't reply because Charlotte Green herself is in a mess. Her career is now over. Because she finds herself, and her colleagues like her, there will be a chapter. In the public inquiry that comes, there will be a chapter on the role of the local media in the cover-up. Mark my words, there will be a chapter on the role of the local media in the cover-up. From Kevin Fitzpatrick from the BBC, to Jennifer Williams of the Financial Times now, to Charlotte Green, whoever at the Oldham Times, and of course, because he's one of you, Charlotte, the malicious blogger. Now, what I couldn't work out, where it came from, this news story to do with Angela Rayner's death threats, because it was only last weekend, because I put the news, I went and researched, and what I found dates back to February 2022, so it's something that's over a year old. Deputy Labour leader Angela Rayner tells of impact of death threats on her boys aged 12 and 13 who need police escort, panic buttons and can't use social media. I feel for her. I genuinely do. I feel for her, I feel for them. But I couldn't work out whether this was a new story. So those of you who contacted me, I'm sorry, I don't know. I don't know if it's a new story because there's nothing new I can find on it. If there was something new I could find on it, I would have shared it with you.
Yeah, I don't go out with my friends on a night out. I don't publicise if I'm going somewhere before I'm going there often. It has to be risk assessed, and yeah, it does have an impact, and it is sad. I mean, I got death threats to my children as well. They need escorting to and from school now. We don't let them, they're teenagers, 14 and 15, and we don't let them walk home from school like every other child would, because we're worried about them. It does affect things.
So there you have it. She makes reference to death threats to her children. and how they have to be escorted home by police officers. And you know what? I think the BBC should fact check. They've got a fact check section, haven't they? So I think you should contact the BBC's fact check webpage. They've created their own fact check to try and, make sure they're in control of the news and the media. The BBC has its own fact check section. Contact BBC fact check. And have Angela Rayner's claims fact checked. I don't think that's unreasonable. Here is the GB News article. Angela Rayner reveals her children are escorted to school after vile threats to their safety. You can see it was published on the 7th of the 7th, 23. So, there's a fact check there. Are her children escorted to school? And are they escorted to school after a vile threat? She's opened up about the psychological effect of receiving death threats. I know all about that. And the impact it has on the family. I know all about that as well. The Ashton-under-Lyne MP says she can no longer socialise with friends and the children need to be escorted on the school pick-up and drop-off. The deputy leader of the Labour Party has spoken out about receiving abuse and threats ever since he took on the role of MP in 2020, including the threat to hunt her down. Like MP Joe Cox, who was murdered in June 2016. In an interview with Newscast, Reyna said, "I don't go out with my friends on a night out. I don't publicise if I'm going somewhere before I'm going there. Often it has to be risk assessed and it does have an impact. It is sad. I agree. I get death threats to my children as well. I had my car jacked. Remember? Tried to run me over in front of my daughter. The car jacked me. And the only thing they stole from the car was my daughter's crocodile lunchbox and my house keys. And to this day, Greater Manchester Police refused to follow the breadcrumbs. I know what that was. I know full well what that was. An individual called Benjamin Ilfe was sentenced to 15 weeks in prison. Should have been sentenced to 30 for all I care. Should be sentenced for more. Watch your back and your kids. That's what he was in prison for. Greater Manchester Police ignored a man who contacted me, and his threat was, I'm going to get damaged and there'll be serious consequences for me. Greater Manchester Police refused to prosecute this man. I know why. I believe it's because of his links to the Labour Party, the same party Angela Rayner belongs to, and Greater Manchester Police's role in covering up for Labour Party politicians in this town. You were easy to find, by the way. They followed me home. They put photographs of my front door online. Greater Manchester Police refused to investigate. I already found your personal home address. Remember when Tahir Mushtaq, Councillor Shahid Mushtaq, the deputy leader of Oldham Council's brother, maliciously claimed I was involved in some sort of sex exploitation and published my address? Published my home address online. Detective Inspector Kenny Blaine, Chief Superintendent, whatever he's called, the Welsh bloke, all of them covered up. Arud Shah publicly find someone's threat. They refused to investigate him and they refused to investigate Arud Shah for the endorsement of murder. So I know all about what Angela Rayner is going through and I feel for her. I don't like her as a politician, but I feel for her. Which is why I'm calling Angela Rayner, who is an MP for Oldham, to issue a statement on what is taking place to myself and all of us who are involved in this campaign for a public inquiry. Look, let's be clear what we're campaigning for. We're campaigning for a public inquiry. How dare we campaign for a public inquiry, into the confirmed cover-up of the grooming and gang rape of little girls in our town. Girls who come from the same background as Angela Rayner. The very same reason she believes she is not treated with equity in the council chamber because of her class is the very same reason these girls were allowed to be groomed and gang raped, because they didn't matter. So those of you who got in touch with me about Angela Rayner, my position is clear. I think, yeah, by all means go and get it fact checked, because I can't understand why it's making news now. Unless they've been threatened again, and in that case, my position is clear. I find it horrific. I find it appalling as a victim myself with a very young daughter. You've all seen me. You all follow me on social media. Do I put a single picture of my daughter up? I don't. And you know why? And Jim McMahon encourages it. The MP for Oldham West and Royton encourages it. The leader of Oldham Council encourages it. Her childhood friend was convicted the day she was re-elected for breaching his restraining order against me. Forget the machete wielding. He was charged for a couple of days afterwards. So Oldham Council are advertising Oldham Pride. You can see they're advertising Oldham Pride. There's no ambiguity about it. They are proudly, good, sharing on their webpage and their social media pages when Pride is, what the events are. Julie Haywood, who's here, submitted a question to Constitutional Services, essentially asking if the Mayor, Dr. Chauhan, and Arud Shah, the leader of the council, and Mohan Ali, who's the education lead, so very specific, 3 individuals would be supporting Oldham Pride and attending Pride events. These Pride events that the council themselves are advertising. Friday the 21st, pre-Pride party. Saturday the 22nd, the Pride parade. And Sunday the 23rd, a Pride finale, including a family picnic in Alexander Park. Now remember, Councillor Shahid Mushtaq, the deputy leader of Oldham Council, is a councillor for Alexander Ward, where the park is, named after Alexander Ward, Alexander Park. Dr. Zahid Chauhan, the mayor of Oldham Council, is also a councillor for Alexandra Ward. The council leader is a ward for Glodick, St Mary's, neighbouring ward, but also the council leader. And Mohan Ali is the education lead. So the question was, will they come? Will they come and support the LGBT community? Now I know there's more letters after it and symbols, but sorry, I can't keep up. So I'm not excluding anyone. And the question was scheduled to be third. And the mayor will read it out. You can see. That's the response he got from the Constitutional Services on the 23rd of June. And then what happened was a series of silliness involving the council, who objected to certain ways in which the question was phrased, and there was nothing wrong with it. There was no swearing in it. And of course, we live in a free society, democratic society, and we are allowed to ask questions in the way we see fit, as long as they're not rude. And none of them were. And there was some toing and froing with Julie about the question. Thank you for your email. I have been advised, and this is from Constitutional Services. Remember, the Director of Constitutional Services is on long-term sick. Disappeared, gone off on long-term sick. So it's been left to her deputy. Thank you for your email. I've been advised to inform you that the 2nd to 4th paragraphs of your revised question below have been considered to be offensive, as they attempted to link specific communities to homophobia based on a survey that is over 7 years old. Okay, so the reason why Julie was asking the question, specifically about whether these individuals will support Pride, was because of the homophobia within the Muslim community. And the evidence used was a Channel 4 research, The Guardian featured it, which talked about 50% of the Muslim community wanted it to be made illegal, to be homosexual. Half of Muslims wanted homosexuality to be made illegal. Now, the council reckons that position on the Muslim community, bear in mind no other research has since emerged that has asked the question, so it's the most recent piece of research around Muslim attitudes. The council have decided that that's out of date. The research is out of date. Now, there's nothing in the council's constitution to determine what research is acceptable and what isn't, and what is considered in date or out of date. And what the council forgot, and this is the context, Pride body statement in Keithley Mayor's apology, on Keithley Mayor's apology, that was dated the 19th of June. So that's not even a month out of there, and this is in Keithley. Hurtful and extremely damaging. Now, this is Councillor Mohammed Nazam, you can see him on the end, holding a pride flag at Keithley's Pride event. And what he did is he took part in a flag-raising ceremony in his role as Mayor of Keithley, but he subsequently posted on a Facebook page calling Keithley Pakistanis, that's the name of the Facebook page, Keithley Pakistanis, that he wholeheartedly apologised for participating in the event and described his decision as a lapse in judgment. And he went on to say, I wholeheartedly apologise for my participation in the flag-raising ceremony as it contradicts my personal religious beliefs, as many of you are aware. I want to emphasise that I have also personally repented for this error and reflected deeply on the consequences of my actions. Looking back, I realised that I should have respectfully declined the request at the time. Whilst I'm unwavering in my commitment to uphold my deep-rooted religious beliefs as a faithful Muslim, I want to emphasise that I actively support and promote tolerance for individuals of all faiths, creeds and colours, as my faith and the law of the land requires me to do. The last bit is a contradiction, and of course it's not right. But the point Julie was making, rightfully, is that there's a history of homophobia in the Muslim community. And based on that, well, our Muslim leaders of the town, and they are Muslim, they describe themselves as Muslim. We don't. They've self-identified as Muslims. And in a world where we self-identify, well, that's, Dr. Chauhan self-identifies as a Muslim. Arud Shah identified herself as the first Muslim leader of the council. The council are trying to hide behind saying, oh, we can't target them. A survey that is 7 years old references the religion of cabinet members in this context. Well, the religion of the cabinet members matters. Whether you like it or not, the religion of the cabinet members matters. It is suggested that the question be reframed after the first paragraph, with the key focus on the question submitting being, so they're now telling Julie, what the question should be. Will the cabinet take a stand for Oldham's LGBT community and join Oldham's Pride March against the fight against homophobia? Julie is very specific. I want to know if the leader's going to support it. I want to know if the mayor's going to support it. I want to know if the deputy leader's going to support it. I want to know if the head of education, the cabinet member responsible for education, all of them Muslims, are going to support it. It matters. It's relevant. It is relevant. They blocked the question. Oldham Council blocked the question and try and reframe it with a question of their own. And this is the man, Peter Thompson, yet again, neck deep in this scandal. This is Julie's response. Good on her. Dear Mr. Thompson, how dare you and Constitutional Services attempt to interfere in my democratic right to ask a question to the full council on the important matter of homophobia and inclusivity for all? Under no circumstances will I accept your revised question, which is clearly attempting to avoid confirmation on the positions of key leaders of our town. Therefore, please accept this as my revised question. If you refuse to ask my question as I have set out below, I will raise this matter with my councillor and report you for a hate crime. I will also share our exchanges with Stonewall and the Equality and Human Rights Commission. This is my revised question. In the lead up to this May's council elections, the Labour Party complained of hate speech and homophobia following a councillor's literature opposing LGBTQ+ education in schools. More recently, Zahid Chauhan, the new mayor, recently stated, Great Britain is called Great Britain because it has great people who coexist together. People from different backgrounds, people from different faiths, from different religions, they all come together. End quote. In a town historically divided, the Labour Party's position should be applauded, and hopefully the council leader and her cabinet will back up their words with actions. Nothing wrong with that scene setting. Therefore, there's no racism there, there's no prejudice there, none of that, is there? There's nothing wrong there. And she sets out her question in 4 parts. Will Arud Shah, in her capacity as leader of Oldham Council, join Oldham's Pride March and support Oldham's LGBTQ+ community? Will she join Oldham Pride March? Leader of the council? Fair enough comment. And if she won't, will she issue a statement supporting the rights of gays in Oldham? Will Dr. Chauhan, in his capacity as Mayor of Oldham, join Oldham's Pride March and support Oldham's LGBTQ plus community? Well, he should be. He's the Mayor. Going to Pride should be one of the civic anchor points of the mayoral calendar. Will Mohan Ali, in his capacity as Cabinet Member for Education and Skills, join Oldham's Pride March and support Oldham's LGBTQ plus community? Fine. He's responsible for education in our schools. We're going to build an inclusive society to talk about anti-racism, anti-sexism, well, it's anti-homophobia, all of it. It's got to be in school. You can't just talk about hate crime towards Muslims. Can you, Mohan? We've got to educate our children on all the strands of the Equality and Human Rights Act. Will Arooj Shah's Oldham Council confirm that every member of her cabinet is committed to the rights of Oldham's LGBT plus community? 4 strands to her question. Remember, this question was meant to be asked third. Do you know what that Peter Thompson did? Dear Julie Hayward, I acknowledge receipt of your revised question for the council meeting on the 12th of July. However, due to the fact that the question required revision and other questions were received during the interim period, your question will now appear at number 18. The runt, the little weasel, Thompson of Constitutional Services, has tried to move Julie's question to 18th, which means it won't get asked in the council chamber, and she'll get a written reply. We know what they were doing. We know what they were doing, and we knew they were going to do this. Julie got in touch. I got in touch with Stonewall, Hate Crime UK, a whole host of other organisations. We copied them in, and we sent them this, didn't we, Julie? We sent Harry Caffrell an email. And we copied in every gay rights campaigning organisation we knew, or we had contacts in. Bear in mind, my position on gay rights isn't anything new, and it's not political. I've had this commitment at risk to my life. So I am committed to these people, just like you are. We're not the racists, we're not the homophobes, we're not the sexists. They are. On each occasion, they are. They are. They are. Demonstrated time after time after time. This email went to Harry Caffrell. I raise with you a matter, and Julie's on here. Julie can tell me, give or take, when she sent it and when the response came, because there was a response directly from Harry Caffrell, but we'll get to that. I raise with you a matter of grave concern regarding the homophobic actions of Mr. Peter Thompson on behalf of Oldham Council. He has been liaising with me regarding a question that I submitted for full council on the 12th of July 2023. My question was originally scheduled to be asked 4th on the list. Actually, it was 3rd on the list, wasn't it, Julie? It has now been rescheduled to be asked 18th and will not be read out at the meeting as originally scheduled. I have been nothing other than reasonable and amended my question twice so that the focus remains clear. I want to ask the leader of the council, Arooj Shah, the Mayor, Dr. Zahid Chauhan, and the council in charge of education, Mohan Ali, if they will be attending Oldham Pride. Your council has repeatedly attempted to prevent me from asking a completely reasonable question, and now, in what I believe to be a clear homophobic hate crime, you have removed my question from its original number to one where it will not be asked. To further demonstrate your council officer's homophobic prejudice, or an action to help hide the homophobic beliefs of the town's leaders, I am aware of others who have had to modify their questions but still retain their places in the list of public questions. Didn't you, Gary? You're here, Gary? I'm picking on you. You resubmitted a question and it retained its position, didn't it, Gary? Your council's actions are a clear attempt to censor the voice of Oldham's LGBT plus community from being heard. It is a hate crime and it is outrageous. Please confirm that you will be reinstating my question to the original number it was scheduled to be asked. Failure to do so will result in a complaint to the Ombudsman. I will also be issuing a press release sharing my communication with your council should you refuse to rectify this clear act of discrimination. You have 24 hours, Mr. Caffrell. Fix this or add homophobe to your list of shames whilst leader of Oldham Council. Thank you, Gary. You retain your position in the queue. Caffrell responds within hours. This is the chief executive of Oldham Council responding within hours. And this is an example of effective campaigning. This is an example of effective campaigning in this town, led through this platform and the rabble. There's not a single councillor in this town who could have got the chief executive to react and respond the way we have, because we called him out. There is no cowardice here. Many people don't like our tactics, but our tactics are what is needed here. There is no compromise here. You cannot compromise with these people. You cannot negotiate with these people. These people were complicit in the cover-up of the gang rape of our town's children. There is no reasoning with them. You have to fight. That's what Julie did. And here is Caffrell's response. Dear Miss Hayward, immediate response. Thank you for your email. Questions for full council are considered in the order they are received and are accepted. I ask that the guidance notes on the council website be updated so that this is more clearly reflected. As per the email exchange between yourself and Constitutional Service, the generalisation of communities in the way referred to in the question would not be accepted as a public question, and therefore it wasn't accepted. No, Harry. We can pull you up on that as well, because nowhere in your constitution does it say we cannot generalise on communities. You generalise on communities when they're victims. You say X demographic is overrepresented as a victim of a hate crime. Well, likewise, you can say Y demographic is overrepresented as perpetrators. You resubmitted your questions, and again the council didn't accept your question, as the question attempted to link specific communities to homophobia based on a survey that is over 7 years old. Has no relevance that the research is over 7 years old. It comes from a reputable source. You, the council, asked for the research and we provided them the research. It's not for them to determine that research is too old. But look how he's dancing to our tune. And references the religious of cabinet members in this context. No, it references the religious members of the cabinet in the context of homophobia. And just what's gone on in Keithley 2 weeks earlier. Keithley isn't that far from here. Or is Harry Caffrell going to draw a map and get a little compass and say we can't make reference to not just things that are 7 years old, but we can't make reference to things that are beyond the 5 mile circumference of the town or a 7 mile circumference of a town? As part of this response, the council suggested a way in which you could ask your question that would be accepted. It's not for the council to do that, Harry. You have since resubmitted your question for a third time, and I confirm that this question has been accepted. On this occasion, as the guidance note wasn't clear as regards rejected questions, I have asked officers to reinstate your question in the original order. See? Fight. Fight. These are not your friends. You have to fight for every inch. You have to fight. And he doesn't like it. I do, however, need to be clear that the council is not homophobic, and there is no attempt to censor the voice of the LGBT plus community. Because we will find out on Wednesday night that the council is indeed homophobic, in my opinion. Because if the mayor does not attend Pride, he is the face of the council. If the mayor does not attend Pride, then the council is homophobic. If the leader of Oldham Council, the leader of the council does not support Pride, then the council is homophobic. If the education lead of the council, Mohan Ali, does not support Pride and confirm that his council are committed to eradicating homophobic hate crime in schools, and he champions that and he believes in that and champions that, if he doesn't do that, then it's not just a reflection on him. The reflection is on the council, because these are the representatives of the council. And the council is homophobic. So this is what will happen on Wednesday. They will either answer those questions specifically for very clear and concise questions, and they will answer them specifically. Is Chowan going to Pride? Is Arooj Shah going to Pride? Is Mohan Ali going to Pride? And do they support do they, as named individuals, support, advocate and champion the rights of gay people? And yes, I do. No matter how many votes it costs me. I do. No matter how many death threats I get, I do. We will find out on Wednesday night. Well done to Julie Hayward, not a councillor, not a politician, just an ordinary woman, for having the courage to stand up for what's right. Well done to that woman. This is the definition of courage. And thank you for also having some trust in me in helping get us to where we are. This is all relevant, by the way. This is all relevant because there's a difference between homophobia. There's a clear difference between homophobia and this thing to do with the transgender education skills. I differentiate one with the other. They're not the same. And in Manchester, these parents are opposing LGBT material being shown to the children. And it's been maliciously, suggested by the Manchester Evening News, and they're portraying these as Muslim parents and all the rest of it. Well, actually, it's a primary school and it predominantly serves Muslim children. So, of course, the parents will be Muslim because it's a mono-ethnic school. But as we know, this is not an opinion position held by just Muslims. Parents opposed to LGBT material being shown in the children protest outside Manchester Primary School. Parents opposed to LGBT material. 100 people were reported to have demonstrated outside Birchfield Primary School. 100 people, Fallowfield. With more attending in the afternoon, so they're hiding the numbers. So the MEN are hiding the numbers. Over 100 parents. More? How many more? 10, 20, 30, 50, 100? Protesters were heard chanting "Shame on you" and "Too much too soon," whilst holding up signs reading "Stop sexualising our children." Some attendees were not associated with the school, but were there to marshal the protest. The local Democracy Reporting Service has been told. Told by who? They don't say. They're trying to stir it up. Was Neil Willa Boobies on the phone to you? Told by who? One of the organisers, a parent of 4 children at the school, so they have every right to organise, to protest, has now been banned from entering its ground. Mohammed Sajjad denies allegations his behaviour towards school has been threatening and intimidating. Now, we all are first-hand witnesses to this, aren't we? Many of you have been banned from going to a council meeting because you hold a position and an opinion legally entitled to have that they don't agree with. So they ban you. They try and censor you. It's the first thing they do. We've seen it. We've encountered it ourselves. He's not said anything threatening or intimidating because if he had said something threatening or intimidating, the police would have arrested him. It comes after hundreds of children, and this has barely made the news. Hundreds of children were kept off school for 4 days over the last few weeks. Hundreds of children. Boycotting schools, the parents. Democracy in action. This is democracy in action. This is social disobedience. This is how you win a fight against the system. Hundreds of children were kept off school for 4 days over the last few weeks. Organisers said a strike was over content in the curriculum. It follows a recent meeting with parents in which relationship and sexuality education classes were discussed. Protesters have called for an open and honest conversation about the rest of the curriculum. They have demanded that all LGBT material is restricted to RSE. Okay. So they want the stuff to do with sexuality and sex education and sex instruction or whatever it is they want to teach in these schools that we don't like here, but they will decide they want to teach it. They want it confined to RSE lessons. They don't want it taught in English, in history, in geography. Do you understand? So they're not objecting to what's being taught per se. They're saying teach it where it's supposed to be. And teach it in a way that is age appropriate. Now, to me, that's not some Islamist extremist point of view, is it to you? Or is it just because you're a Muslim, your automatic position is it's an Islamic position? It's not. They have all demanded that all LGBT material is restricted to RSE, not off some hearsay, but after this is what the school did. A video of a transgender girl was shown to pupils in another lesson. So they're trying to normalise this. So they showed a video of a transgender girl. The video was later removed from the curriculum, so the school acknowledged it should never have shown the video. Otherwise, why remove it? And the school says it does not teach sex education. Well, put up the curriculum. They won't. Speaking to the local democracy reporting service, so Mr. Sajjad is not hiding. Parents are really frustrated because they are hearing stuff from their kids. Remember, this is a primary school. 5-year-olds, 6-year-olds, 7-year-olds. We feel we shouldn't be hearing from our children if the school shows sensitive material. Mr. Sajjad said he started speaking to other parents about his concerns after the video was shown. He claims parents have complained about other aspects of the curriculum. A WhatsApp group was set up to discuss the matter, and efforts were made to engage with the school and the council before the strike took place. So we're reasonable people. Meet with us first. My daughter goes to a very middle class school. There's a WhatsApp group. There's nothing sinister about having a WhatsApp group of parents. Starting with a one-day strike on June the 12th, parents were encouraged to keep their children off school on 3 further days the following week. And look what they've done. They've put a photograph of, this is the MEN, the local democracy reporter, and they've left a 5 Pillars sign up. 5 Pillars is this Islamic channel. Why couldn't the local democracy reporter go and take a photograph themselves without getting a screen grab from a Muslim channel and leaving that on purpose to send a more sinister message across? Image 5 Pillars. You're a local democracy reporter. Fallowfield isn't Beirut. It's a suburb of Manchester. And because of the protest, Mr. Sajjad says he received a banning order, instructing him not to enter the grounds or premises of the school until further notice. A letter sent to him by the town hall, so the council have got involved, accuses him of threatening and intimidating behaviour, which he denies. Of course he denies, because he wasn't involved in any threatening or intimidating behaviour. He was involved in protesting. He said, we just want an open and honest discussion with teachers regarding the material being shown and how it is being delivered. We've asked for a review of all the content that can be deemed as age inappropriate or sensitive. How is that unreasonable? Asking for a review of all content that can be deemed as age inappropriate or sensitive. Is that threatening? Is that abusive? Parents have been invited to the school to discuss the contents of the curriculum, and some changes have been made as a result. Children are not taught about sex, but about healthy relationships between people as part of the RSE curriculum. The LDRS has been told. Told by who? Told by who? Was it the detective who's up for trial for allegedly urinating over a child as part of what Harry did to her? Was it him who told you? Who told you? And who's the spokesperson for the school? How can you have a spokesperson for the school? It's the head teacher, it's the chair of governors. Who's the spokesperson for the school? Following consultation with parents, we have never taught sex education at Birchfields Primary. We have, however, been successfully teaching relationship education in our schools for some time and are proud of the impact this has had on us being a welcoming and inclusive school where children thrive and are happy. Some parents have recently expressed concern about the contents of this curriculum, which is set by the Department for Education, and we're working closely with parents to address the issues raised. Well, sorry, I ran schools as badly as I did. I was involved in the running of schools, and I will tell you right now, the Department for Education does not set the content of the curriculum in any subject. It does not set the content. The Department for Education does not set the content. A Manchester Council spokesperson. So now we've gone from a spokesperson from the school, anonymous, to an anonymous Manchester Council spokesperson. Manchester is a diverse and welcoming city. Who said it wasn't? Do these parents say it isn't and say they want it to be any different? And we want all of our children, young people, to grow up understanding and respecting differences between people. Do these parents say they don't want that? The parents are specific too much, too soon, and stop sexualising our children. That's not the same as holding prejudices that stop you from welcoming people who are different. Our primary schools have a key part to play in this and work hard to deliver a rounded curriculum, which includes relationship education as they're required by the Department for Education. No, the Department for Education does not tell them the exact content of what to teach. Concerns have been expressed by a small number of parents. You've had hundreds of kids off for 4 days on strike. Small number. All our children and staff, school staff, have a right to be able to attend school and to access their education without fear or interruption. And we would urge parents to work with the school and not to disrupt learning. Well, they've been trying to work with the school, haven't they? The school has refused to engage with them. Why do you think the strikes took place? The strikes took place because the school held them in contempt. That's exactly what a VAT is. LGBT staff at the school have felt unsafe and have not been able to take part in normal school activities, the council claimed in the letter. Did they go into school saying, I'm a gay, on a t-shirt? And then the parents pick on them? No, of course not. It's just nonsense. LGBT staff at the school have felt unsafe. Why have they felt unsafe? Why have they felt unsafe? Why have they not been able to take part in normal school activities? If you're finding value in this transmission, please do press like, share. I don't ask any of my 99p subscribers on top of everything else you do to buy me a coffee, so that's why I don't ask you to do that. You do more than enough. That's coming to Oldham soon. And that's why it's important, more important than ever, for the likes of Mohon Ali, Councillor Mohon Ali and his education lead, to confirm and clarify some key concerns the communities have. It's not right that the LGBT community be demonized. All of the gay people I know want nothing to do with this, their words, stupidity of unisex toilets in schools and teaching children that women can have penises and men can have babies and breastfeed. They want nothing to do with it. And more so, they want nothing to do with introducing concepts into a child's mind that they are potentially born in the wrong body. Some research done very recently. Civitas, the think tank Civitas. 1 in 10 children, 1 in 10 think they might be transgender. I think that was what the research said, 1 in 10. Where has that come from? Great news, Oldham Council. They've taken legal action against a resident in Glodick, not for heroin, not for cocaine, not for bars of gold, but for dodgy cigarettes. Islam Arif's house on Greengate Street was raided by the police. I can only share with you what I've been told. Take it with a pinch of salt, by all means. But my understanding is he was informed on, shall we say, for not paying his percentage. And those of you who might be familiar with the street, Greengate Street, of course, is Fogs firebomb Oldham Council's leader's car. Emergency services rushed to Greengate Street, Oldham, just before 1:30 a.m. after hearing the vehicle had been set on fire. So if you've heard Greengate Street before, that's where you've heard it. This is Councillor Cameron Guffaw. Cameron Guffaw has put forward the motion for the Muslim-only cemetery. We went through it earlier on in the week. What Cameron Guffaw has done is opened up a can of worms. And let me talk you through it. First of all, and I can only share with you what I know and what I've been told, and I take it on face value from the sources I get it from, so I'll decide for you. You can decide for yourselves. So Cameron Guffaw has come out with this Muslim-only cemetery, and the Labour Party has reacted and want to block it. Arud Shah doesn't want it because it's not come from her, and also to do with the power dynamics in the Pakistani community. First of all, this motion has not made the news at all. None of the national and local news have covered it. Surely it's newsworthy that graves could soon run out, but the council have managed to kill the local press, with the links that they've got from running it. Secondly, some of the Muslim groups, some of the younger Muslim groups, naively put out some press releases saying lobby your councillor, and they were calling for imams to raise it at prayers. Some of them tried to twist it onto us. I've told you all to step back. Thankfully, all of you have done. Don't allow ourselves to become embroiled in this. And what's happened is the likes of Oldham News and Media, Westwood and Calders Community Watch, all of those places have been exposed because they are complicit in this with the Labour Party friends. Go and have a look at Oldham News and Media. You'll see this story hasn't been covered by them. Remember, it's run by the cartels. Qasim Lenny, lieutenant to Arood Shah and his associates, keen to promote this Muslim agenda. Remember, the stuff about Kashmir, the stuff about the Elbit factory, front and centre. Not a word on this Muslim cemetery. Because, as my Muslim brethren found out on Friday, the mosques are not on their side. The mosques are not on the side of a Muslim cemetery. You'd think they would be, or at least raise the issue, but they're not. Complete silence from nearly every mosque because these mosques are controlled by the Labour Party. So that's what's took place there. Almost complete silence from every mosque. This story killed because the Labour Party don't want to give it any traction. So my Muslim brethren have found out, the Muslim bloc vote have just found out that they are indeed cartel controlled on behalf of the Labour Party. Wednesday's council meeting is also going to be interesting because Mark Hints, I think, has put in an amendment. Now, Mark contacted me last week, after last week's transmission, and I should clarify this now, I think. First of all, he contacted me to confirm on Monday afternoon that he didn't get the motions until Monday, not at Friday like I'd got them from my sources in the council. So my apologies to Mark and to Maggie and Sandra, because clearly the council, and that's Peter Thompson again from Constitutional Services, had been delaying giving the independent councillors the motions at the same time. They weren't getting them at the same time as the other councillors were from the mainstream parties. Hopefully Mark and Maggie and Sandra will get that address so they get their motions at the same time. But he contacted me also because he was appalled at the plans for a Muslim-only cemetery, and we discussed it at length. And if you remember all of you last week, I was very clear. I would not be lobbying any of the independent councillors. I think they need to find their own feet. But if they need help and support, then they only need to contact me, and I will help them and I will support them. So Mark asked me for some help and support around the motion, and it was his idea. It wasn't my idea, it was his idea. And it was a great idea. So he's put an amendment in. I think if he can get Maggie Hurley to second it, he's put an amendment in. And if Maggie, and the reason why he can't get Sandra to second it is because Sandra's away. So hopefully Maggie Hurley will second it. I can't see what the issue is for someone not to second it, one of the independents not to second it. And I'll tell you what the motion was in essence. What Mark's position is. And Mark's a lefty. You've all seen him. He's more left than most of us. And Mark's position is really straightforward. Roger, why is it that the Muslims are only buried at Chadderton Cemetery and at Grinnickers? The council said they've got 7 cemeteries across the town. Why aren't the Muslims buried everywhere? The Muslims in this town live in all areas of this town, and they should have equal access to all of the cemeteries. If there is a shortage of burial spaces, then first and foremost, it should be that the Muslims have a section in all of the cemeteries. And I couldn't agree with him more. I couldn't agree with Mark Ince more. So that's his amendment, is that the cemeteries need to be opened up. The Muslims are part of Oldham. The Pakistani and Bangladeshi community is long established. He's a Shaw councillor. There's Muslims in Shaw. There's Muslims in Royton South, Royton North, Failsworth, Saddleworth, everywhere. So the Muslims should have equitable access to the council-run cemeteries across the town. So that's his amendment in the first instance. And the second element of his amendment is that, and if there is a shortage, then we need a new cemetery, and that cemetery should be in Saddleworth. And I didn't know this at the time. I had to go and research and find out. Do you know something? Saddleworth doesn't have a council-run cemetery. The only cemeteries in Saddleworth are linked to the churches. There should be a cemetery in Saddleworth. Why should it be? And I'm just looking at this. Someone like Gary, who lives in Saddleworth, if not particularly religious, he doesn't want to be cremated. He should be able to be buried there in Saddleworth. There's no council-run cemetery. If there's a cemetery, there's a shortage of burial spaces, and let's build one in Saddleworth. Pam Burns put the motion forward. So let's support our Saddleworth Conservatives in building a cemetery in Saddleworth. And I thought Mark Hinz's motion was brilliant. And honestly, it wasn't my idea at all. He phoned me 8 a.m, I think, the other day. I was on my way to the train station. And he said, Roger, what I want to do is, can we put an amendment in? And I went through the process, told him what he had to do, how he had to do it. And sure, I helped him with, word it and all the rest of it afterwards. But the idea was his. All the cemeteries should be opened up to every member of our community. Why have the Muslims segregated to Greengate and Chadderton? All 7 cemeteries. So that's what he's trying to get in as an amendment, providing Councillor Hurley supports it. I hope Councillor Hurley does support it. I hope Maggie Hurley does support it. Don't see anything contentious with the amendment. There are Muslims in Royton South. Because fundamentally, I mean, I go to cemeteries. I've got family there. I think, a cemetery close to where you live, or closest to where you live, or in the area where you live, is not an unrealistic ask. There's a cemetery in Royton, isn't there? There's a Muslim community in Royton. Surely, people who live in Royton, if they so want, have a right to be buried in the council-run cemetery in Royton. You see, we're consistent with all of this in terms of our equality and our human rights position. We're consistent. And that's why they don't like us. We're consistent. Whether it's a vote winner or not, we're consistent. I don't think it's a vote loser. And even if it was a vote loser, it's still the right thing to do. Or am I wrong? Yeah, the cemetery in Upper Mill isn't a council-run facility, Julie. But you're right, extend it if it's public land. And make it so other people can, of other faiths, and none, can be buried there, if they so wish. And in terms of Oldham Council and its work on cemeteries, it goes back a long time. We've done all right. The council's done all right, considering. I'll bring something up. New plans unveiled for Muslim burial site. Now, unless these are plans that were unveiled that never came to fruition. And we know all about that, don't we? We know all about that. Oldham's Muslim community is going to benefit from improved burial services, including a £40,000 extension of the Muslim site at Greengate Cemetery. See, there is Muslim burial at Greengate. There you go. The Muslim Burial Working Group has been working closely with Oldham Cemetery for over a year to cater better for the Muslim community. And this article goes back to 2010, so it's 13 years old. Now, I'd be interested to know from my Muslim brethren if any of these changes have happened. First of all, new plans include a concrete lining for the graves, which will replace the wooden linings, and water services will soon be available for wuzu, this cleansing we do. We wash ourselves before prayer. But the first thing, the concrete linings, is because our gravestones they tend to collapse because traditionally, religiously, there's a space left between where we bury people and where the soil starts filling in. It's meant to be. There's something there in the scriptures. So apparently the council had solved it, and there's going to have concrete lining for the graves. Now, the last funeral I was at was in Chadderton Cemetery for an auntie of mine. It was not the best of days, and we all helped bury her. But I don't remember a concrete lining. I don't remember seeing a concrete lining, so I don't remember. Maybe it never made it to Chadderton. I'm not sure if it made it to Greengate. But this is 15 years old, 13 years old, and it's claiming that was what was being introduced at Greengate, and they were also creating space for religious washing. The burial services have also been extended to 7 days a week because we bury our people as quickly as possible. It's a part of the faith. So again, that was introduced into 13 years ago. So there's been accommodation, I think, by the council to want to do the right thing, or at least the staff at the council. So, but I'm not sure I couldn't tell you if that's been implemented or not. Question to the council, wasn't it? It's a question to the council, I think, next time. The Muslim bloc vote, I've been told that, or I've learnt that the cartels control them rather than the other way around. And Wednesday is going to be hilarious because the Muslim bloc votes aren't going to get the Muslim-only cemetery. Arud Shah and council are going to block it, vote it down. And Mark's amendment is going to be interesting, providing he gets there, because I think it's very reasonable. So this is Muse. Arud Shah's made an announcement. Yeah, you've all seen it. Muse have gone online. We're so excited to be working with Oldham Council to create a neighbourhood filled with character in the heart of Oldham. I'm thrilled that we are forging ahead with these exciting, ambitious and truly game-changing plans. Game-changing, Arud Shah. I looked at this guy called Richard Dean because he gave me this company called Planet IT, who are one of Muse's partners. This is who they are. Design practice with a passion for outside spaces. So they're working in partnership, London, Liverpool, Manchester. This is a close-up of who these people are. Very well-heeled, very wealthy, the faces of people who make money from people like us. So of course they're delighted. Of course Planet IT are delighted. And of course Muse are excited. Now I don't blame them, but of course they're excited and of course they're delighted. Place Northwest Place, magazine, newspaper, online. Hot on the heels of securing £250 million contract to deliver the next page of Stockport's regeneration, the developer has been picked by another Greater Manchester authority to bring forward 2,000 homes across a clutch of town centre sites. Oldham Council has appointed Muse on a 15-year contract, which would be extended for another 10 years. So it's 25 years to redevelop plots totaling 24 acres in the town centre. So those of you who want to know how big the building in the town centre, 24 acres and 2,000 houses. The total value of Muse's Oldham contract could be up to £550 million. That's over £500 million of public money is going to Muse, or could be going to Muse, according to tender documents published by the Oldham Council last year. Oldham Council said Muse demonstrated a thorough understanding of the ambition and scale of Oldham's regeneration plans, adding that the company's track record with similar projects and the highly experienced team headed by born and bred Oldhamer Phil Mayle were among the reasons for the firm's selection. The council are claiming that one of the reasons they gave £500 million contract to an organisation was because the team was headed by someone from the town. That's their own words, not mine. Mate, we've had one regeneration scheme fail after another, after another, after another. I wouldn't care if the bloke or the woman or the transgender, whatever, if the individual heading the team was from Moscow, as long as they could deliver it. There should never have been factored whether or not someone is from this town to head up this project as a reason for awarding £500 million. That should never have been a consideration. It should never have been a consideration. Arud Shah is truly excited that she secured a partner from Oldham, who knows Oldham so well, and is just as passionate as me. They don't see it. They don't even see what they've done wrong. We and Muse will be creating a new town centre for not just the people who live here now, but for generations to come. These homes will create new communities right in the heart of Oldham, which is a brilliant opportunity not just for the Oldhamers who will get the chance to live there, but also for people from across the borough who can enjoy greener, more attractive and more enjoyable spaces to eat, drink and spend their leisure time. How one is linked to the other, I don't know. How do you enjoy more greener and more... How is it more greener? If you're building 2,000 houses, how is it going to be more greener? 2,000 houses, I'd imagine 2,000 more cars, at least, wouldn't you? Even one person had a car, that's 1,000 more cars. Muse field mail sell. We create kinder places in our towns and cities that focus on quality, community and sustainability. I don't even know what that bullshit means. What's a kinder place? We create kinder places in our towns and cities. It's regeneration with people at its heart that will celebrate the proud town of Oldham, its rich heritage, along with its aspirations for the future. A master agreement, so this is what's actually happened. Sorry, I'm laughing at what Ian's got to say. They'll paint them green. A master agreement has been negotiated during the procurement process, which includes establishing a joint project board that meets quarterly. And the partnership between the council and Muse will now formalise more detailed strategies and business plans for sites in the town centre, expected to take 6 months. So there's no plans. They've appointed someone to develop the plans. So the first of the sites that they want to see redeveloped, this is what they're looking at. Remember, this is not my words. These are, this is the official documentation. Oldham Civic Centre and Rochdale Road, which has the capacity for up to 600 apartments. So they want to put 600 flats where the Civic Centre is. 600 flats. The former Leisure Centre site on Union Street, which has capacity for up to 250 apartments. It's not on Union Street, is it? The former Leisure Centre. The old Sports Centre isn't on Union Street. But they reckon it's another 250 flats. So 850 flats. And the former Magistrate Court and Manchester Chambers, which is just next to the Civic Centre, isn't it? The Queen Elizabeth Hall. Another 225 flats. And then they've got additional sites. Land on Bradshaw Street, Metropolitan Place site, land at Mumps, Southgate Street and Waterloo Street, and the former Tommyfield Market. Flats, 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 flats. Thank you, Tony. Lord Street, that's where the old sports centre is. I used to walk up as a child, walk up St Mary's Way, by the way, which they're going to reduce and knock into one lane going up and down because they want a cycle lane and some green shrubbery on the other side. So the main road going into town, they're going to cut in half, whilst they put 2,000 flats. Flats. 1 and 2 bedroom flats. 2,000 1 and 2 bedroom flats. Let's be clear here. The former leader of Oldham Council, Sean Fielding, is on public record saying that as a consequence of the redevelopment of the town centre and housing around the town centre, we would have people choosing to live in Oldham town centre rather than living in Saddleworth. Now it's becoming more and more clear what the council is planning. They want 2,000 1 and 2 bedroom flats, social housing. They want to ghettoise the town centre. They want to encircle it with a new 21st century ghetto, where the most vulnerable, the most needed, the most disadvantaged are housed in 1 and 2, but packed into 1 and 2 bedroom council flats, which have been proven in our town to have been disastrous. St Mary's Estate, Wearmouth, you saw them in Sholver, demolished. Off Manchester Road, the 2 buildings that have just come down. This is suicide's the wrong word, because suicide means they are hurting themselves. No, they're not hurting themselves. They're making money for themselves. This is the murder of a town. That's what this is. This is the final nail in the coffin. This is the murder of our town. This is, you're right, Julie. The town centre will become a no-go area. It will be encircled by 1 and 2 bedroom flat. It'll become a modern day ghetto. What should have happened, because 75% of the council's housing list is in need of 1 and 2 bedroom properties, is that this should have been evenly distributed across all areas of the town. Towns, Chadderton, Shaw, Royton, Failsworth, Saddleworth. Do the people of Saddleworth not want 1 and 2 bedroom houses, flats, where their children themselves can live there and grow there? Of course they do. And if you ask people in this town, they will consistently tell you they don't want to live in flats. Have a look at what the Great Places schemes have been in the former Primrose Bank area. They knocked all of those flats down and made them into houses. People want to live in houses. And they've been successful. Look at the housing in Calder's, look at the housing in Wearmouth, look at the housing elsewhere in the town. What's gone up new that's worked in place building, in community building, has been houses. This is outrageous. This is the ghettoisation of Oldham. And they're celebrating it. And of course Muse are happy. And of course that R&I company are happy. I don't blame them. You know what they say about a fool and his money? It's not Muse's fault that you only give them £500 million. Or this other very posh company who are jumping up and down and rubbing their hands with glee about how excited they are. £500 million on building a new sink estate. Well, this is the thing, Gary. I want to play something for you. They're talking about schools, community centres and medical facilities. Just hold that thought.
Phil Mail from Muse, the managing director of said company. Again, I made this comment to Oldham's council leader a few moments ago. People haven't necessarily heard of Muse as an organisation. Tell us the rationale and your qualifications for embarking on this wonderful project.
That's a challenge for the gentleman to my right who deals with our communication, so maybe we need to work a bit harder so people know who we are. No, I'm pulling his leg. No, we're actually, we're a business that's been going 40 years, and we specialise in urban regeneration and place. So housing is part of that, but helping place economy, office space and the like. So we've been around, and examples of our work in the northwest would be, for those familiar, would be the Chapel Street and New Bailey area of Salford. We've been working on that best part of 15 years. Blackpool, Talbot Gateway. So we are a well-established company, and I'd like to think our people are best in class at working on town centres. What's our aspiration for the town centre? It's actually to create aspiration. Oldham has many places, and as you know, I'm from the town, so I know its history. Has, like all town centres, suffered a decline in terms of the amount of retail space. So retail space becomes empty. What do you do with that? Everywhere's been grappling with those challenges. But let's talk about it now as an opportunity. The pain's been taken, the pain's there, but let's look at it as an opportunity. There's land connected with a population that we know is incredibly proud of its town. It's actually frustrated by its town. Let's be honest. It's been, I know that, but it's proud of it. So our aspiration is to give Oldham and Oldham Town Centre something to be proud of. So that's really good quality housing, facilities that the community need, housing across the tenures, so housing for everybody.
Okay, I was going to
yeah, absolutely. This isn't about dropping in houses for a certain demographic driven by viability, so who can afford it? Well, they get a house and that's that. We deliver as much affordable housing as a business as we do, broadly speaking, as we do private housing. Our housing is bespoke, so we design it to the place. We don't just take housing designs off a shelf that you might see then 10 miles down the road. We work with the place. Importantly, we can't get to that point until we've engaged with the community.
And I suppose off the back of that question too, as well as the essential housing ingredients, other aspects, of course, the schools and healthcare facilities and things like that to make those thriving communities work. Are those taken into consideration?
They are. It was in fact we were just discussing with the leader and members of the leaders team and officers. One of the first thing we did. Well, look, I'll tell you a story. Typically, in the past when we've gone into place, we create the employment space, we create the housing, and then we go, right, we need some facilities. That's how it's been. Our experience is that that's not the right way of doing it. So now we take into account, we have a forward look. So we've done a needs analysis already of the town centre and beyond. So where are the existing dental facilities? Where are the doctors? Where are the schools? Are they over or under subscribed? So what happens then when we bring in more people into town centre? What happens then? Then we go, right, okay, so we understand we may need that, and it's maze at the moment because things change. We don't work in a static world.
Yeah.
Exactly. But we know we've got an idea now of what will be needed, and then we earmark sections of buildings to say, well, right, in that phase, by this point we'll have this number of people, we forecast we will need this, so we design it in at day one. And it might move from that building to that building depending on how fluid the town centre is, but we're always factoring that in as we go forward, not looking at it retrospectively and going, oh God, we now need to find space for this.
Purely coincidental, as I was walking over from the studio here, just a few yards from where we are based.
I want to stop it there. The interview's there, the full interview, if you want to listen to it. Now, get beyond his gobbledygook, and he doesn't talk very well and he's not very clear. So those are my initial reservations about this man, but he was put on the spot perhaps, and he didn't know he was going to give an interview and he didn't have that clarity. So he talked in vague, abstract stuff. But that's by the by. What is very clear on is that his organisation has done a needs analysis of doctors, surgeries, of dentists, of schools. That's what he said. Himself, he said. 2 points I want to raise with you on that. The first point is the needs analysis should have, and he also said that, he made it as a plus point, like how we've now changed our practice, where afterwards we'd consider the impact after we'd done the work, but now we're considering the impact before we've done the work. So what will be the impact of 2,000 new houses? Well, 2,000 new 1 and 2 bedroom houses will have, on average, either 2 or 3 people in them. Yeah. So you're talking 3,000 additional people. 3,000 additional people. And they're all flats, by the way. They're all flats. I've gone through the list with you. Their own words: apartment, 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 apartment. There was nowhere any mention of houses. They're all apartments. And they're not apartments, they're council. They're flats here. I live in an apartment. I know what I mean by the word apartment rather than a flat. So we've got 2,000 new flats, 3,000 new people, and he reckons he's done a needs analysis already of the impact on services. Now there's 2 points I want to raise. The first point I want to raise is, why has the council not done a needs analysis? If the council have commissioned this work and there's 2,000 new houses that they want to build, why have they not done a needs analysis of what sort of services will be required? The council should have done this. Arud Shah and her associates, well actually it's not even Arud Shah, to give her a due. Harry Caffrell and his team should have done this. But this is this vague thing. Well, actually, they've already, Muse apparently have done it. Now, a private developer, motivated by profit, because that's what private developers are, how can they be trusted with what they've done to inform that? So I suggest to one of you, contact your local councillor and ask them to ask Arud Shah for Muse is impact assessment. If they've done one, publish it. Let's have a look at the impact that 2,000 new flats will have on services. Publish it. And I go back to this. I'm not opposed to flats per se, but I've seen how flats all congregated in the same area with the same demographic. It's a recipe for disaster. No one's going to buy these flats. Why would I? And if I'm going to buy them, would you think I'm buying them at 150 grand, 200 grand? The only way these flats, there is an alternative that they could have done, but they've not done. There's an alternative of regenerating the town centre and building houses, flats, whatever around. But they've not done that because they've not learnt the lessons of everywhere else. And Oldham being Oldham, we've got to do it the wrong way. The wrong project, costing 10 times more than it should have costed, and delivering the outcomes that no one ever wanted. Or worse, perpetuating the misery that existed beforehand. And that's what this is going to be. They've done schemes in some of the inner areas of London where they've worked. Houses, flats, mixed tenure and mixed in terms of rent, social housing rented, a small number with some affordable flats. People have bought them at cheaper rates. So they're sold not at market value, but at under market value, which is the only way you encourage people from other areas, from the more affluent areas, to move in. If I'm a professional and I can buy a flat in and around Oldham Town Centre for, say, £80,000, a 2-bedroom flat, which would be 130, 140 anywhere else, then there's an incentive for me to stay. So you sell them at discounts, massive discounts. And then you ring fence and a percentage less than 15% is the tipping point. Less than 15% for social housing. Because any more than 15% and then it tips. But here we've got 100%, 80%, 90%, 100%. Will it be social housing? This is the destruction of the town. Apocalypse is the right word, Gary. They won't buy these flats, Gary. They're not going to buy the flats. These flats won't be for sale. And if anyone does buy them, it'll be slum landlords who can then make money out of renting them to people. This is the wrong way to go about it. And it's nothing new in this town. I'm genuinely distraught when I saw the news article come out. And then I saw some of the Facebook posts and Twitter posts. The Place Northwest guy even had the audacity to reach out to me and say, why am I opposed to it? Why am I opposed to 2,000 flats, 3,000 people, minimum, moving in around the towns, encircling my town centre, and all from a poor demographic? Why am I opposed to the ghettoisation of my town? Well, Muse might make £500 million off it. And all the other companies that are associated with them, I'm sure, will make plenty out of it. But will my town be any better because of it? What should have happened is they should have diversified the 1 and 2 bedroom, the single people need, and that benefit dependency need across the town, instead of congregating them in a specific area, which is what they're doing. It's a massive mistake. It's been proven to be a mistake when they've done it before in this town. It's been proven to be a mistake in every place they've done it anywhere in this country. And yet they're doing it here. And this, by the way, the town centre and where it sprawls from the bottom of Coldest, this is also still Coldest. Coldest is one of the poorest wards in the country. Madness. Absolute madness. But hey, I'm not the councillor. So what do I know? This is Jack Fiffield. He is the Oldham, and he's put on annual leave because I caught him out on something. No one updates the Twitter bio to put on annual leave. But he self-identifies as he and him, but is a meta-community reporter. I didn't know what meta-community reporter was until I worked it out. Now, Jack is one of those Oldham Times idiots that attack me and harass me. Now, we put this up a couple of days ago. Back in my favourite pedestrian zone, and he is complaining about the taxis that go through the pedestrianised zone and park outside McDonald's. Those of you who've been in Oldham Town Centre will see they ignore it. All of the taxis and cars ignore it. Now, if Jack was the community reporter he claims to be, he would know that perhaps these people are immune from prosecution because the Oldham Private Hire Drivers Association pledged to vote and support Arooj Shah, the council leader. Now, the question I have is, what did Arooj Shah promise this powerful lobby group, the Oldham Private Hire Drivers Association, the Taxi Drivers Association? And here she is with her mate Irish Amy next to him. No? And the only woman in the picture, which is, nothing new. What did she promise these Pakistani men? If I was Jack, I'd be going and looking at that. Instead, Jack wants to harass me and try and abuse me. Well, Jack, I'm not scared of you. I don't care about you. And I will mock you and expose you and your newspaper. I don't care if you're a junior reporter or a senior reporter. And what I've also found out about this meta community reporter scheme, because I wasn't aware of it before. Charlotte Green is the local democracy reporter paid for by the BBC. The Meta community reporter is paid for by Facebook, Meta. Now, there's a big fight going on in the world around right access to information, and Facebook are trying to control some of that in the same way the BBC are, and they've got a perspective that isn't in tune with my view on the world because they don't believe in free speech. They believe in speech that they approve. Now, there's a difference between free speech and advocating hate and advocating violence. But Facebook do not believe in free speech. And governments across the world, this liberal Western democracy, the word liberal is vaguely used now, or increasingly inappropriate, is that we can only talk about what they approve us to talk about, and we can only have an opinion that aligns with their opinion. So Jack is funded by Facebook as the community reporter in the Oldham Times. Where did we start this evening? The more I learn, the more I understand, I think the more I wish I hadn't even started on this journey. Because it doesn't end up in a good place. But the good place is we are still a democracy. Ultimately, we get to decide who represents us by voting at the ballot box. And indeed, I will be standing for election next year. There's a council meeting on Wednesday. Some of you have asked, I'm possibly going to just do a watch along. I think where I can put up the video and you can comment and talk to each other rather than provide any analysis on the Wednesday night. If I can get round to it, I'll do a watch along. I think a lot of that depends on, I am frustrated. A lot of that, in terms of we've not got the numbers and the momentum we have. I put a lot of effort into this work and these transmissions, and I'm starting to question whether it's the most effective way of campaigning and lobbying. And despite me asking about shares, and none of that's working either. So I'm not sure. I'm not sure how we move forward or what we do next. But Wednesday's council meeting, I think, is going to be a watershed moment. I hope. I hear survivors are coming, by the way. I hear survivors are coming to listen to hear the motion, the FIP motion. I feel sorry for the survivors, because if they knew what had gone on beforehand, they wouldn't bother turning up. They've just been set up to fail and go through more trauma after more trauma. I think Wednesday's council meeting will be a watershed moment. I also hope, and I've not fallen out with any of the independents. I'm just consistent in my viewpoint. And you agree with me, disagree with me, but it's never anything personal. I'm just consistent with my viewpoint. We've got to fight. We've got to fight. Nothing will be given to us. These people can't be trusted. And the people who've been elected have been elected on that premise, haven't they? The council can't be trusted. And we've got to hold them to account. We've got to fight to hold them to account. And they've elected people that they would hope would fight to hold them to account. I was uplifted when Mark Hintz contacted me, asking for help with amending a motion and talking him through how an amendment works and what he could do and how he could do it. I just hope his motion is seconded by Maggie Hurley, because she's the only one who can second it. And I think it's the right motion. In this town right now, it's the right motion. We shouldn't have a Muslim-only cemetery. All of our cemeteries should be opened up, because the Muslims live across all of our town. And I'm also looking forward to Julie Hayward's question and a whole host of other questions that you guys have submitted. They'll be nervous. And those of you who are going to the council meeting, good, you should go. This is democracy, you should go. Just your very presence will intimidate them, will add pressure to them. They get away with what they get away with because they've done it, protected, knowing that no one knows what's going on. Or not enough people know what's going on, and even those who view it don't quite understand what's going on. So if you can go, you should go. And if you can't go, watch it with me. And we'll comment together on Wednesday night. And if I do an analysis, it'll be later in the week. But please, if you can, like, comment, share, and try and get some more sign-ups to these transmissions. Because without that, we're... the work is here, isn't it? You can see. And there's always content. And there's always stuff to share. And there's always stuff to critique and analyse. But if it doesn't reach a wide an audience as possible, well, then this stops becoming the most effective way of doing it. And I know it is the most effective way of doing it. But it's only possible with your support. Good night.
Do not fear them. Do not fear any of them.